Rob Dauster here. I got Jeff Goodman with me.
Hell no.
John Henson.
Are we still live?
Field of 68 till I die.
I'm sorry, man. I blacked out.
Randolph Children.
DJ Khaled, you know the big DJ Khaled guy?
Hands thrown up and in.
Goodman needs to be fired all the time.
Josh Tasker.
You're going to beat people straight up.
You know the deal.
Drink responsibly tonight. I'll be drinking with you.
Jarrell McNeil.
From the bluest of the blue bloods to the smallest of the mid-majors.
This is Field of 68 after dark.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the Saturday evening edition of the Field of 68 After Dark. My name is Rob Dauster. I got Jeff Goodman with me, unfortunately. I got John Henson with me. We are presented by our partners over at BetMGM, and we have a fun slate of hoops. It was a little bit of a quiet Saturday. It's always awkward when you get into this this week between Christmas and New Year's when you have some high majors that are playing bye games and you have a couple of random conference games thrown there, and every once in a while you get a Creighton and again a Marquette and a showdown like that. So we're going to get into that game a little bit. We're also going to talk about the ACC and what the hell happened there. Virginia got embarrassed. Pitt and Syracuse played a great game, but it looks like neither of those teams are going to be anything all that impressive this year. Florida State took a loss at home to Lipscomb. That is a conference that looks like it is going to be interesting to kind of break down. We have a North Carolina. I'm going to call you a legend, Henson. I always call you a North Carolina legend. He's here on the show with us. He's going to tell us why North Carolina.
Legend in his own mind, John Henson.
I was digging through storage because I had to clear my storage unit out, and I found my Defensive Player of the Year trophies. I found my first team trophies. I'm like, oh, look at these old things. I dusted them off. I threw them behind me, man. So I appreciate the shout out.
Hey, Henson, how many first team all-league trophies does Goodman have right now?
Ooh, I mean, depends on his area of expertise. Now, in the sports media world, I mean, he's for sure got some first-team All-Americans, for sure.
See, Henson's taking care of me. Look at that. Henson remembers. I made him famous. Come on, back in the day, I think I made, John Henson famous when he was a high school kid coming out of Tampa. Nobody knew who he was. And all of a sudden I put him up. Now he put himself on the map. Trust me.
But Jeff was one of the first guys I remember talking to, and him being like, all right, I'm gonna write about you. You might be something that I could talk about.
Well, there are your trophies right there in the background that everybody can see. You weren't lying about it. He does have trophies. He does have awards. The last thing that we are going to get to here at some point in this show, probably towards the end, is I want to talk about Indiana State. I want to talk about McNeese State. We're going to talk about the Michigan schools, but I want to throw some names at you guys in terms of the most dangerous mid-majors in college basketball, the Cinderellas, if you will, the teams that are going to have a chance to be able to make that run to the second weekend. Everybody loves themselves a good Cinderella, a good media darling. Before we do all that, though, we have to talk about the biggest game of the day, Marquette against Creighton. The Golden Eagles took down the Blue Jays 72-67 in a game that was it was not pretty in the first half, Goodman, but in the second half, Marquette found another gear. Sean Jones woke up. David Joplin woke up. Tyler Kolek, who you're going to hear from here in a minute, did his thing, and Marquette ended up winning and, most importantly, covering the 3.5.
They did, and to me, it was their defense. It was their defense and the rebounding in the second half. They made some shots too. The shots that they didn't make in the first half, they were, I think, 3 for 20 in the first half from three. Couldn't make anything. And, Kolek was just Tyler Kolek, right, for the most part. But I thought it was Sean Jones who changed the game because he's a guy who's such a great on-ball defender and a pest who gets out there and can change the game on that end. But they left him open. He had made, I think, 4 threes the whole year, and he makes 3 out of 5 tonight or today. And again, they're daring him to take those shots. And it's kind of like what we talk about with other players around the country, Juwan Harris. Like, you got to take him with some confidence. You can't just sit there because you're going to hurt your team if you don't take them. And you should be able to make uncontested threes we're not asking you, Sean Jones, to make him at a 60% clip. We're make him 1 out of every 3. And he made 3 big ones, including one late tonight that I thought, again, completely changed the game. But I thought it was, Oso was so good on the glass. And what they do better than any team in the country, they tap the ball out to their guards and get second possessions that way on the offensive glass better than any team in the country right now.
Mm-hmm. Henson, go ahead.
I think, Marquette won this game, but Creighton had control. I think in the first half, they were going to Kalkbrenner a little more, getting him involved, because when he did get the ball, no one could really guard him. And the way they were shooting the ball early, that was kind of the story of the game. Marquette sped them up. I think Creighton was overpassing, if that's possible. And down the stretch, those big-time threes by Jones, which, kind of put Marquette in a position to take over the game, was the story of the game. But I did like how Creighton looked from a team standpoint. Marquette just wore them down defensively and kind of sped them up a little bit. And I think they were almost doing a little too much passing, shooting a lot of bad shots when the clock was running down, when they had easier shots earlier in the shot clock.
Yeah, I think they had like 3 or 4 shot clock violations and another 3 or 4 possessions where it was like they're firing something up with about 2 seconds left on the clock just to be able to get it up. I think what we saw was one of the big reasons why I'm really concerned about what Creighton can end up being, because if they can't get anything out of their sets, out of their offense, out of what they're running, I don't think they have a guy that can go make something easy happen for somebody else. You get down to an end of a clock, Cam Jones can go get you a shot, right? Or Tyler Kolek can make something happen, create a bucket for somebody else. And I don't know if Creighton necessarily has that. I came out of this game, I want you guys to tell me if this is crazy. I came out of this game a little bit more concerned about Marquette when we are talking about the national title picture than I was heading into this game. And the reason why is I feel like they're one guy short, right? I was into Marquette as a potential title contender before the season started because I was expecting David Joplin to be able to take a big step forward, either David Joplin or Chase Ross. Joplin's actually averaging fewer points this year. He's shooting a lower percentage from the field. He's shooting a lower percentage from 3. He's shooting a lower percentage from the line. His numbers are basically down across the board, despite the fact that he's playing more minutes and getting starters minutes. Chase Ross is kind of the same thing, right? And when you don't have that absolute defensive stopper out there in the form of Omax Prosper, you don't really have another guy that's a big wing. So you're looking at a situation where they're rolling out lineups with 4 guards that are 6'4" or smaller, or when Joplin's out there, you got a guy that's supposed to be your matchup problem offensively, and he's kind of not there yet. So it feels like this is a 2-man show where their best defensive lineup has 2 to 3 guys that you don't have to guard beyond the 3-point line. And the best offensive lineup has too many guys that are a liability on the defensive end. So I'm kind of waiting for the breakout, right? I just don't think that we've seen that yet from Joplin or Chase Ross. And I think kind of figuring that out will be what gets me back on board with Marquette. But as it is, Goodman, I feel like they're one guy short. Does that make sense?
No, I'm 100% with you there. One of those guys has to step up and be consistent. And we thought it was going to be Joplin, and he's just been a piece, right? And they need a third dude because Oso's not like again, the way he and Kolek play together, sometimes he can go for 20, but he's not a big-time offensive weapon. Now, I'll put their backcourt up against just about anybody in the country. So they can get hot in the tournament. They can get hot in the tournament and win 4 straight. And it wouldn't surprise you. But the margin for error where Kolek and Cam Jones cannot have a bad game in the tournament in order to do that, right? In order for them to go deep. But I could see those dudes going, getting hot and staying hot for 4 games and getting the Final Four, and then who knows what happens.
Yeah, and the one thing that I'll say, Henson, is that when you see Sean Jones come off the bench for 15, like that is the kind of thing that you need. Like you need another guy that's going to be able to go out there and get you 12, 13, 14, 15 on a given night. And now maybe that's something where sometimes it's going to be Joplin, sometimes it's going to be Sean Jones, sometimes it'll be Chase Ross, sometimes it'll be Ben Gold. But like, I feel like they just don't have the consistency from that third weapon that can make something happen.
Yeah, it's the third option is gonna kind of be a committee third option. They're gonna have to Shaka Smart's gonna have to see who's feeling it, who's not feeling it, and if nobody's feeling it, they're in trouble. So hopefully that doesn't happen down the stretch in the tournament when they do get there, matchup wise. But there's a lot of pressure on Tyler Kolek specifically. I mean, if you watch the game, he's forcing a little more stuff than he usually does, than he did last year. So, it's kind of all on him, and then, who's going to come along with him. And I think that will be the downfall, Rob. You said, like you made a good point. I don't know if they're a national title favorite because when it comes down to it and they focus on those two guys they have on the perimeter, which is one of the best backcourts in the country, who is going to keep them afloat if those guys aren't able to do what they need to do, which in the first half they weren't necessarily, and you saw what happened. Creighton was about a three-pointer away from blowing this thing open. They hit some timely threes to keep it close.
All right, Jeff, we were able to catch up with Tyler Kolek earlier, who I think the most important part of the conversation that we had was he pushed back a little bit on our fashion correspondent, Cam Jones, who threw him under the bus about 3 weeks ago.
Wow.
And now let me welcome on to the Field of 68 After Dark. The best point guard in America, according to Jeff Goodman, Tyler Kolek, fresh off of a 72-67 win for the Marquette Golden Eagles over Creighton. He finished with 15 points, 8 assists, 4 boards, and 3 steals. Tyler, it wasn't the prettiest basketball game we've ever seen, but you guys got to go into the second half. Sean Jones, David Joplin made some big threes for you. You guys pulled out the win. How are you feeling right now?
Feeling good. I mean, in the Big East, every night's going to be a war. It's going to be a grind. So we just got to find a way to win. And, I think in the first half we were 3 for 20, but, we played great defense and put ourselves in great position down 2 going into half. And, in the second half, just playing Marquette basketball, still defending. And, we got lucky some shots fell for us.
How important was this one for you, Tyler? Because obviously against Providence, we know how hard a place that is to win. Yeah. And with you going back home and playing that way and kind of getting blown out, how important was this to get this win?
Yeah, I felt like we were in a good place going into the game against Georgetown, and then coming into this game, we kind of wanted to stay there and stay where we've been. We were kind of rolling before that Providence game, but we've had some struggles on the road this year. We've been to some tough environments, Wisconsin, Providence. We did win at Illinois on the road, but we just got to flip our mentality at home. I think we've been really good. Our crowd's behind us. I think we set our attendance record today for most people ever to watch a game in Fiserv, including the Bucks. So it's a special crowd. Our team has great energy at home. So we felt good today for
sure. That's because you're a bigger draw than Pat Connaughton and Giannis.
No, that's my guy. Hey, he's got to get out there a little more. I got to talk to the coach.
I mentioned Sean Jones earlier. He had a couple big threes in the second half. He was 3 for 5 today. He came in 4 for 28 on the season from 3. How important is it for him to be able to knock down shots when teams are daring him to shoot?
Yeah, he's kind of in a similar spot that I was in my first year when I came here. Really working hard, working on my 3-ball, and it's going in practice. It's going when I'm working out, and it's just not going in the games. And I think I've been really having great conversation with him, just telling him to keep trusting and it'll come. And, he's huge for us because he's so fast, and teams got to stag off him because they can't keep him in front. So him making a couple of threes, that's huge for his confidence, for sure.
Tyler, how important has it been for you? Because everybody kind of looks at your numbers now and they're like, all right, he does everything, but he could score more if he wants to. How has that been this year compared to even last year in terms of trying to involve your teammates even more, trying to make sure that, again, Sean Jones is making shots and playing with confidence, also playing with confidence. You're playing that 2-man game with him all the time.
I think it's just natural. The way that we play is, I think this year I'm doing a better job of picking my spots, whether it be post-ups or in the pick and roll, being more aggressive, or just off the catch and shoots. I could definitely be more aggressive off those, but just picking my personal spots because I'm going to play the game. I'm going to get those other guys involved. They're going to get their shots off of me. So I feel like I've taken that next step and really trying to control all aspects and not just focusing on getting those guys involved, but focusing kind of getting myself going too.
I think it's fair to say that you guys did not play anything close to your A game tonight, especially in the first half. Oso struggled. Cam Jones didn't really get it going. But you were still able to come out and get a win over one of the probably 3 or 4 teams that you're going to be competing for Big East championships with. What does that say about this group that you have?
Yeah, I think we can win in a variety of different ways. A lot of questions coming into the year about our defense. We lost Omax Prosper. It was who's going to fill that role, who can step up and be that defender. but we got guys. We, myself included, Cam Jones included. We aren't regarded as defensive-minded guys just because on the other end we are what we are. So, but we really try our ass off, man. We play hard. All those guys empower us to really play hard, and I think me and him have just taken the next step of really taking pride down on that end, and that turns everybody else up when they see us in a stance really wanting to guard. Then they really want to guard because that's really their main role.
Hey, I think without a doubt. Hold on, Goodman. I got to follow up on that. You mentioned yourself in the defensive stance. Does Shaka still have the best defensive stance?
I just saw that clip of him sliding on the sideline. Hey, 6th man of the year defending.
Yeah, no doubt. Hey, what were you talking shit to Kalkbrenner before you went to the line at the end? What did you say to him?
I was talking to Shire, and we were just friendly banter. I was telling he told me to miss one, and I said 50, 40, 90. I can't do that.
No, you cannot. All right, so, hey, Cam Jones killed both of us. He killed me a lot worse than he killed you when he came on here, his debut for our fashion correspondent, right? So I stepped up my game here. I know you didn't have time to step up your game, but he honestly divulged a huge secret about you that I don't know if you really wanted out there. Do you want to address this? Cam Jones throwing you under the bus for what you wear underneath your shorts during games.
We're addressing my fit, but do you just have the top or is it the full suit?
No, I got sweatpants on underneath. I got sweats on.
You're cheating. You're cheating yourself.
Yes.
But no, that's my guy. I mean, he was wearing something today. I said it in the guards huddle. We huddled after. I said if we play as good as Cam looks today, then we'll be all right. But he had some like button up on. It was some fur. I don't know. I'm not as into fashion as he is, but he did expose me a little bit. That's my little secret. All the guys in the locker room, even at my old school, they'd all say the same thing. Like, how do you even do that? But it's just it's freeing. It feels good.
Freeing. It's freeing. I love it. I love it. Listen, congrats on the win. Happy holidays. Happy New Year. Tell your family I said the same. And listen, from now on, play like the number one point guard the whole game, not just for 20 minutes next time. All right.
I got you. I'll pick it up for you next time.
Jesus.
That was Tyler Kolek, first team All-American point guard. Jeff Goodman's favorite point guard in college basketball, I think, at this point, who is defending the fact that he wears the I don't know if you know this, Henson. We were making fun of him because Cam Jones outed him for wearing just Hanes boxers when he plays basketball. He's not wearing the compression shorts, not wearing the boxer briefs, just straight up Hanes boxers when he plays basketball, which is a wild thing. I don't need your breakdown on that. We spent enough time talking about that. All right.
You're going to get it anyway. Henson's going to give it to you anyway. It doesn't matter whether you want
it. That is, I mean, so he ruins a pair of underwear every game. He can't rewash those. It's over. They've got to go to the trash. NIL.
I guess he's got a good NIL deal in Henson. All right, let's talk a little bit about the Big East title race, because I think it's a really fascinating race to get into. As we sit here today on December 30th, UConn, according to our partners over at BetMGM, UConn is still the favorite at plus 150. Marquette is second at plus 250. Creighton is plus 425, as is Villanova, and Providence is just sitting there quietly at plus 1,500 to win the Big East regular season title, despite the fact that they are tied for first place as of today as one of only two teams that are sitting at 2-0 in league play. Creighton, for what it's worth, joins DePaul and Georgetown as the only winless teams left in Big East play. Henson, I think it's the peak of insanity right now. If you want to take UConn with all of the injuries that they are dealing with and put any money on them to win the Big East title at plus 150 as the overwhelming favorite, I think that's nuts.
Yeah, give me Providence. If we're talking, just from a perspective, I mean, why not? The way everything looks right now, teams are losing that aren't supposed to lose. The top team that we consider on paper has an injury problems. Let's just go for the best odds and the best team with the best profits. And I wouldn't be. They're tough at home. They've already stolen a couple of wins, so why not?
I kind of agree with her. Like those odds, I'll roll the dice with that. I mean, again, Do I think they're going to win? No, but at 15 plus 1,500 or whatever it is, I'll roll the dice with that. To me, again, I go back to what you said earlier, Rob. All right, UConn, even if Klingen's out, they've got Newton, Spencer, and Caravan. They've got 3 dudes that you could pretty much rely on. Marquette really has 2 at this point. Perimeter guys, more, again, I mean, obviously Oso's a guy who can be dominant on certain nights, but in terms of guys that can make shots, make plays, UConn's still got 3 of them. Now, Klingen takes them to a completely different level, but I still think UConn, with their DNA and the fact that they won it all, with Newton and Caravan playing major minutes last year, I think you got to give them the edge. But like Henson said, Providence at those odds, I kind of like it.
Yeah, the one thing I will say about UConn with those odds, the games that they are probably going to be without Klingen are going to be DePaul at home, at Butler, at Xavier, Georgetown at home.
But it's not that. It's the nagging that it happens.
Oh, no,
again.
for sure. Yeah, for
Right?
sure,
It's-
100%. And without him,
it's
the
not
thing
about
it. Yeah, the thing about it without him is that the what they are defensively is just nowhere near the same. Samson Johnson's a really good player. Samson Johnson is not the Great Wall of Bristol. He's not going to be able
for
to
15
provide that
minutes.
level of defense.
He's a great player for 12 or 15 minutes, but if you have to play him 30-plus minutes, he's not a great player.
And the other
He
issue
looked
is that go ahead, John.
I said he looked when Klingen was out and they had to kind of rely on him and they were giving him the ball. I mean, he was bobbling the ball, he was losing, he wasn't catching the lobs he usually catches. So, it's kind of like Armando last year where that lingering injury just nagged him and call it what you want. Yeah, they got to the championship, but he was not 100% at all. No.
Yeah,
he would say that. He would say that he didn't do what he needed to do in the offseason last year, and it caught up with him. Klingen probably did what he needed to do, but he was just hurt with the foot injury in the preseason, the other foot early in the season. Now you got another foot injury. I mean, it's just for a dude that big.
It adds up. The issue is going to be getting back into shape when you're that big. Like, he's going to be basically sitting out for 3 to 4 weeks. And here's the other thing. Like, you say he does what he's supposed to do. Well, it's kind of like an open thing on campus that people are just like, Donovan, stop walking around. Like, go get a ride. People will drive you somewhere.
That's what I've said.
Watch him on the bench during the
allowed.
games. He's up there jumping around doing jumping jacks. Like, dude, your foot's
He should
messed
not
up.
be allowed to be like golf cart everywhere he goes. From literally pull that golf cart around outside of the classroom. I don't care how you got to get it in there.
What he
get
needs
it
is a
outside of the classroom.
seatbelt on every chair on that bench, and you just got to seatbelt him into the bench when he's over there.
He can buy a golf cart with what's going on today. You heard what Nick Saban said today. Nick Saban said this is semi-pro. This is semi-pro.
Yeah.
At this point, this is what
He's
college sports becoming. It's becoming semi-pro. So he can go buy him a golf cart. I promise.
Yeah. I will just say, I feel like at this point we are kind of undervaluing what Villanova can be this year, because it's so interesting to me the way that their season has broken down, right? Like, they had this unbelievable run in the Bahamas, and they look really good in a win at Creighton. And they smack Maryland and they smack Memphis. And as long as they're not playing a Big Five school, then they look like a team that should be very much in the conversation as the best team in the Big East. And then they just play these Big Five schools, and it's kind of, it gets ugly. So I'm curious what you guys think about this Villanova team and where they are headed this year. Why don't you go first, Henson?
Yeah, they play down to the level of competition, which is like a red flag in essence, in the sense of college basketball, because every night matters. You're going to have to be locked in. When you go to Georgetown or you go to a DePaul, right? Like, I would say, if, from a betting perspective, if DePaul or some of these lower rung teams are catching over 5 points, I think you should take them, because it seems like they just don't get up for them. And then, they'll play the big dogs and compete with that at the highest level. So they could easily end up being middle of the pack in the Big East, the way they've been playing and how inconsistent they've been.
Listen, I picked him to go to the Final Four in the preseason. I'm completely out on him because their point guard play is just not good enough. It's not good enough. It's not. I know you know what I'm going to say, but it's true. Like, you better have better point guard play than that. And they've had it now for 2 years. where it hasn't been good enough. And, spend all that money in the portal for NIL and you don't get a point. Justin Moore is not a point guard. He's not, and he's hurt right now. Mark Armstrong's a great backup, but he's not a star. I thought he could be good enough if you had 4 dudes around him, but I'm not sure they have 4 dudes around him. Like Dixon's a dude, right? Dixon's their best player. Well, you said that before the season, Rob, and that's true. Like Tyler Burton's a very nice piece. Hakeem Hart's a nice piece. TJ Bamba's a nice piece. Those guys they're not dudes. And I think if you don't have a good enough point guard, you better have like 3 or 4 dudes. They don't have that.
Which is weird because I thought that they were.
Get a graphic that says they're not dudes. Can we have to like pop up every time like somebody? I like that. They're not dudes.
They're not dudes.
I like that. T-shirt or something.
Gonzaga. I said it. I tweeted it last night. Gonzaga they don't have a dude for the first time in years. They don't have a dude.
Right.
They're not dudes. Jeff Goodman.
They're not dudes.
How many
there it is. There it is. Nobody's trying to screenshot this. They're not dudes. I love that.
They're not dudes. Oh man. All right, listen, that's enough Big East chatter. I could sit here and talk about the Big East for 3 hours, so I will spare you guys that lengthy conversation. We do need to talk about Michigan State, and I think we need to talk a little bit about Michigan. Just the state of Michigan basketball overall is a very interesting conversation to have at this point in time, and we will do that as soon as we hear from our sponsors. As you guys know by now, we've partnered with BetMGM Sportsbook for this college basketball season. We're going to be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks and predictions throughout the college basketball season. And we are going to have special offers for you, the listeners and the viewers on the Field of 68 each and every week during the season. If you haven't signed up with BetMGM yet, use the bonus code FIELD1500 and you will get up to a $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager on BetMGM Sportsbook. Here's what you got to do. Download the BetMGM app. Sign up using the bonus code FIELD1500. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game. You will receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if that bet loses. Just make sure you use the bonus code FIELD1500 when you sign up. And remember, BetMGM is now available under one wallet in select states. As a New Jersey resident, this is super convenient for me when I have to go cover games in New York or Philly. When crossing state borders, just log into your existing account instead of having to create new accounts in each state that you go to. And most importantly, I got to let you know, we do have some fun stuff coming up for this college basketball season. Bet insurance tokens, college hoops odds boosts, my personal favorite, parlay odds boosts. So download the BetMGM app today. Welcome back to the Saturday evening edition of the Field of 68 After Dark. Yes, Jeff, we are back on the air. Wake up. I saw you looking down at your phone. Get locked in, man. Come on. We got to lock in. We got Saturday night. You got 30 more minutes of the show where you got to pay attention. And then you got New Year's Eve off. You got New Year's Day off. You got nothing to do. You can go drink until 1 in the morning tomorrow night. You can hang out. You can watch football all day on New Year's Day. Just
little Allagash Beach report. Yeah, Allagash Beach report. It's like a new, I'd never seen this. It's good. It's good.
I just want to know why you're drinking a Maine beer when you're all the way down there in Charleston, man. Come on, drink a little bit local.
I do. It's Westbrook White Tie or something. Really good. Really good. We're going to go to brewery when it gets a little bit warmer.
Well, this is called, mine is from Bolero Snort Brewery, and it's called Flight of the Moonicorn. How about that? My daughter picked that one out because it has the unicorns on it. So, all right, let's talk about Michigan State. Let's talk about Michigan. I want to get to Michigan State first because, Goodman, the people didn't hear this. You said this before we went live, but the direct quote was, Michigan State is back. Are they back?
They've won 4 in a row. And it started with a blowout against Baylor. And then today, they beat an Indiana State team that, is one of the best mid-majors. I know we're going to get to mids here in a little while. That could be dangerous in the tournament, and they're really dangerous. I mean, you're talking about a team that, again, has a stud down low who they held, Robbie Avila to 5 points tonight. But I think the biggest thing for Michigan State, and Izzo said it early. I remember talking to him after the Champions Classic, and he was like, I'm not worried about the shooting. The shooting is going to be okay. And they haven't lit the world on fire shooting the ball from deep, but they've been much better than they were the first few nights. To me, it was all about like AJ Hoggard.
It wasn't hard to get better than 2 for 41
right.
or whatever.
Well, you had to. I mean, right. Couldn't be worse. But like to me, it was Hoggard and Akins. And those two guys have been pretty good. Listen, they're not going to get much out of their 5-man spot offensively. They're not. Sissoko was great on the glass today. That's all he's got to do. Just finish down there, get some offensive putbacks, and dominate in the glass. He did that tonight. Hoggard has been the difference because he's the guy that you never know what you're going to get, right? Like Izzo's been super frustrated by him over the years, and over the last 3 or 4 games, he's been really good, like efficient. That's what he's got to be. Take care of the ball. Don't be bad like you were against Duke, like you were against Arizona, and just be stable. And Jaden Akins has been better as Hoggard's been stable and reliable. I think it allows Jaden Akins to be more effective, and that's what he's been over basically, other than the Baylor game, the last few games, he's been terrific. So you know what you're going to get out of Tyson Walker. Malik Hall's a veteran. Again, the 5-man spot is what it is. You're not going to be able to do anything about it now offensively. So to me, it's Hoggard and Akins. And obviously, I think, again, just seeing the players and seeing the fans watch Jeremy Fears come out there before the game on crutches after he was shot a week or so ago and had surgery. I think that had to be something that fired up the players.
Yeah. Go ahead, Henson.
Yeah. It's a lot on the plate of Walker, Hoggard, and Hall. I mean, we'll throw Akins. It's just a lot on their plate. If you look at kind of their bench scoring and what everybody else does, if they're not functioning at a high level, that's why I think they're having a disappointing season. But they are picking it up, specifically Hoggard. I think Izzo may have said, hey, look, man, this is your last year. I'm going to let you rock out. He kind of took the leash off and said, hey, do what you do. And it's showing that he's maybe has a little bit more freedom than he had. And, that backcourt can be one of the best backcourts in the Big Ten on any given night. So they're trending in the right direction. Still got a lot of work to do from a seeding perspective and a tournament perspective. But I like what they see. And, yeah, the whooping of Baylor, I think, jump-started kind of the conference team.
Yeah, and look, you said that they could be one of the best backcourts in the Big Ten. It's not just the Big Ten, man. Like, that could be one of the best backcourts in college basketball, period. Tyson Walker, AJ Hoggard, and Jaden Akins should be in the same conversation that we are having when we talk about Tyler Kolek and Cam Jones, right? They should be right there. They are just as good. They have just as much talent. They have just as much firepower. And there's 3 of them. You can play all 3 of them together. You can play 2 of them at once. I think Tyson Walker, when he gets going, is as dangerous as anybody when it comes to being an isolation scorer in college basketball. And I think the value of having AJ Hoggard next to him is you got a guy that can be more of a creative outlet instead of just a guy that's going out there to get buckets. So I think we all kind of assumed that they were never going to get anything from the 5 spot this year, anything great. But seeing their guards play the way that their guards are supposed to play makes a lot of sense and is something where it allows you to buy into them a little bit more. They got Penn State coming up at home. Then they have Northwestern on the road. So they should be able to get back to 2-2 here in the Big Ten before they get kind of into Illinois on the road and playing the Illini. So I'm back in on them. I'm back in on Michigan State. I'm back in on Tom Izzo. I don't know why I ever got off the Tom Izzo bandwagon. Like it was very silly for me to be able to do that. As you can see there, great coaching advice. This is why they pay Jeff Goodman the big bucks. Shoot better than 2 for 41 from 3, and you'll win a lot of basketball games, right, Jeff?
Yeah, you win more games than you did. You won't lose to James Madison. If you
that's true. They didn't. And look, you know what? Indiana State, according to the metrics, is actually better than James Madison right now. And that's a perfect segue to talk about the Sycamores. The one interesting thing here, Jeff, was this was the first time that these 2 programs played since the 1979 national championship game when it was Magic Johnson against Larry Bird. We didn't have Magic against Larry Bird, but we had Tyson Walker against the big fella, Robbie Avila, with the goggles, with the rec specs. He didn't play all that well today, man, but I will tell you this. I think when you watch Indiana State play, it's very easy to understand why they had won 10 straight games heading into this. That is a good basketball team, point blank, period.
Yeah, they got a lot of interchangeable parts, Henson. around Avila. And that's kind of the thing, right? You got a lot of dudes that can put on the deck around a big that can really pass it. He's unorthodox. He's not the most athletic. I think, honestly, my vertical would be higher than Robbie Avila's right now.
Look, you know what? That's the first time I'm going to agree with any of the athletic stuff that you say, is I think you're actually right on that one.
They got the weird, like, unorthodox type big guy and the way they play. Like, that's a team, like, you like watch, you like see in a tournament and be like, why are they up 10 against, a 4 seed or something like that? So they're a fun team to watch, man, and they're good. 11-2, and anywhere in the country is good. So, I mean, the score isn't really indicative. I mean, they were on, excuse my language, they was on Michigan State's ass the whole game.
Yeah.
I mean, so it was a good game.
Yep.
Yeah, they're built kind of like it was another Missouri Valley team, the Loyola Chicago team that played Cameron Krutwig at the 5, right? Where they had a bunch of really good guards, some athletic players that could guard, guys like Isaiah Swope, guys like Ryan Conwell that can go out and get a bucket on their own, with a 5-man that you can kind of play away from the basket and he can dime you up a little bit. So I like where they're at. So I want to ask you this, Jeff. We'll talk about Michigan here in a second, but Michigan just lost to McNeese State, who's now 11-2 behind Shahada Wells. 30 points, 10 boards, 6 assists, 5 steals. I'm going to give you guys a factoid really quick. The last 2 players in Division I basketball that put up at least 30 points, at least 10 boards, at least 6 assists, and at least 5 steals in a Division I game against a Division I opponent, Ben Simmons in 2015, Elfrid Payton in 2014. That's how impressive what Shahada Wells did. McNeese State and Indiana State are 2 of the best mid-majors in the country, Goodman. Can they win a game? And who else are you putting in that same conversation in terms of the lower conference teams that are going to be a real thorn in the side of some big teams when it comes to tournament time?
I feel like you always got to watch out for a SoCon team. Like that's one league that always and it's not as good probably as it was a couple of years ago overall, the depth of the league. But, to me, I'm going to see Western Carolina coming up this week against Citadel when they come here to Charleston. And I can't wait to see, we met them, at the SoCon Media Day prior to the season. Vontarius Woolbright, is putting up some crazy numbers, right? Yeah. And to me, he's a guy who can carry him, averaging – I don't know. I think he's averaging 20 and a bunch of assists, and he rebounds his position. He's electric. So that's one team I would watch out for. I always feel
just for the record, he's averaging 21 points, 12 boards, and 5 assists, which is just fucking ridiculous numbers.
That's crazy.
21, 12, and 5 assists.
Right. I can't wait to see him this week against a Citadel team that just beat Notre Dame, who obviously got a pretty good win today against Virginia. So, I'm not going to take Henson's team here, but I will say again, a SoCon team like a Western Carolina would scare the hell out of me in the NCAA tournament because you need a dude, Henson, if you hadn't heard. You need a dude, and Western Carolina has a dude.
You need a dude. Yeah, I'm on the Grand Canyon bandwagon. I've been on it for a while. They beat San Diego State, who just beat Gonzaga. So that should give you some perspective of how good they could be or are. They've got 5 power conference transfers. They're top 70 on KenPom, above the Mizzous, Georgia, Ole Miss, even Syracuse at the time. I don't know about now. So that's my team that I could see making some noise. And I love the home court advantage. I love the energy around the program. One of the teams that I just look at and man, I want to go to a game and just see the environment, man. They camping out, they're partying. I mean, let's get them to the tournament, or let's get a game there so we can kind of see the vibes.
Hey, Henson, here's what we got to do, man. What we're going to do is we're going to get a Field of 68 broadcast from Grand Canyon. We're going to bring you out, and all we're going to do is you're going to be our student section correspondent, and we're just going to send you out with the students, and you're going to be there. You're going to be partying. You're going to be vibing. You're going to be in the student section, just going nuts with them. We're going to have a camera with you.
We'll do something maybe take a shot every, whatever, something, man. We'll figure it out, man.
How long could you make it? How many shots could you do without falling over in the crowd? How many?
My I don't look it, but my mom's side, I got some Irish and English in me, so I could go I could go maybe like every 3-pointer made, right? How many 3-pointers is Grand Canyon average? I mean, if it's under 10, we're good to go. I just need after the game, you're gonna probably have to just check on me. That's it.
I thought Henson was going to say,
have to send you some water bottles too, right? You're gonna have the Gatorade cooler, the water right there next to you, so you're ripping shots. You also drink a glass of water, man. 1-1.
Every Grand Canyon 3, we take a shot. I mean, if they hit 3 in a row, we're in trouble, but whatever, we'll be all right.
I thought Henson was going to say, I don't look it because I only weigh, $195, but I can, I didn't expect the.
My mom is my grandma is white. My mom is half white, and she's Irish, so I got a little bit of Irish in me. So let's just say that the liver can hold. Oh, 7. We can knock those back.
I don't know if you guys could hear that. That was producer Trevor right there. And I will say this: we got to throw this in there, Henson. You know what Grand Canyon has? They got a dude. His name is Tyon Grant Foster, certified dude.
They got a dude.
They've got a dude. Okay, well, they've got
he's
a dude.
Also, he's also the best story maybe in college basketball this year. Started his career at Kansas, went to junior college, then went to DePaul 2 years ago. First game at halftime is walking off the court after he made a 3, and he passes out and basically flatlines, and they have to basically bring him back. And for the last 2 years, he's been trying to get cleared by the doctors. Can't do anything. Can't work out. Can't do anything. Just waiting for the doctors. Finally, they clear him this past summer. Puts his name in the portal the next day. Goes to Grand Canyon. And right now, he's top 10 in the country in scoring. Tyon Grant Foster. Unbelievable story.
Love that.
A couple other names that I just want to put in this best mid majors conversation. Obviously, have to have James Madison in there. I feel like that one is a given. They've been they're still undefeated, one of 3 undefeated teams left in college basketball. Appalachian State picked up a win over Auburn earlier this year. Dustin Kearns has got a really good program over there. We're talking about teams with dudes. Southern Illinois, the real Xavier Johnson is averaging 25, 6, and 6 this year. He's had an incredible season. And Goodman, we know how much you love guard play. Last 2 that I have written down. UNC Wilmington, they did not win at Arkansas tonight, but they went into Rupp and they picked off Kentucky in Rupp. Takeo Siddle has got that program rolling, and of course Princeton. Man, we got to throw Princeton in there. Princeton's been really, really good so far this season. So if there's anybody that we forgot on that list of mid majors that are a real threat to make a run, please let us know. Now, speaking of McNeese State. Let's have the Michigan conversation. We talked about it a little bit last night, but I think that win going into Ann Arbor and picking up that victory, they won 87-76, is a fascinating coaching dichotomy in the sense that Will Wade is a guy that had all of these NCAA legal issues, comes back, and now looks like he might end up being one and done in McNeese State. If it's not one and done, he's probably 2 and done and going to get another high major job. Whereas Juwan Howard has a team that looks like they don't want to be out on the court anymore. The level of effort there was minimal, to say the least. Goodman, what are you hearing about Will Wade? What are you hearing about Juwan Howard? Is this going to be kind of a passing of the guard? Should Will Wade have just stayed in Ann Arbor, taken over this Michigan program? What do you mean?
No. Will Wade's not going to get Michigan. I think Will Wade has a better shot of getting a DePaul or something like that. Michigan's not
West
hiring.
Virginia, baby.
West Virginia could be in play. Who knows? I would say this about Juwan Howard. You know where I stand, and I don't know if Henson does, with former NBA players in college, former NBA players and coaches. Most of them suck. They suck because, honestly, they don't know how to work at the same level that the college guys who have done it their whole lives have. Listen, when you have $100 million in your bank, unless your name is John Henson, you don't have to grind it quite as much. You just don't. So a lot of these guys, whether it's Chris Mullin, Patrick Ewing, go back to Clyde Drexler. Now it's changed a little bit now, guys, because of NIL. Okay, so now you can still hit the golf course in April and May. And as long as you're on those Zooms with the guys who went in the portal and you got NIL to give, you're going to be in the mix and you might get some dudes. But I still think it's going to catch up with, and it has caught up with a lot of them, including Juwan. Right? Juwan's had a lot of off-the-court issues as well. Documented, obviously, he had an altercation, mostly verbal, with the strength coach, John Sanderson, earlier this year. Nothing nothing was done to either side about it. But he's had other issues, with Joe Krabenhoff, the Wisconsin assistant who he slapped, getting into it with Mark Turgeon a little bit verbally years ago, the Maryland head coach. But ultimately it comes down to this. Juwan took over a program that ultimately had great culture. John Beilein left some good players and some great culture behind. They were terrific when Beilein left for the NBA. Juwan did a great job early with those players, with that culture. But over the last couple of years, it's slipped. It's fallen. Last year, they had Hunter Dickinson, an All-American type big, and 2 first-rounders, and they didn't go to the tournament. This year, they're going to be worse. They're not going to the tournament, most likely. They're really struggling at this point. They don't have the same level of talent. And obviously, Juwan, it's good to see him back on the court, coaching full-time after the heart procedure. But ultimately, I just don't think he's long for this job in Ann Arbor. Now, I don't know if that means after this year or maybe one more year. He goes in next year on the hot seat, the dreaded hot seat, and he's got a lot of pressure on him, and he better get some NIL and get some dudes out of the portal in order to keep his job.
Henson?
I liken it. It's funny you brought up Beilein. He was my coach, right? And I saw him come in, and he had the college mindset, micromanage everything. What is everyone doing? Concerned about how Jordan Clark is making $100 million off the bench, one of the best scorers, a professional scorer. How he's doing his layups. John, what are you doing? What are you eating today? And that works in college because these are young men. These are young men trying to become grown men and be citizens and productive in society. In the NBA, it's a little different, right? Everyone's got family, kids. They make more than you, which is another thing, right? So, I think Coach Howard gets to Michigan and, he is the GM. He is the president. He's the head of basketball ops. He has to make sure to go to class. He has to also make sure to do right. Like, it's a lot. And I credit, with even when I was at school with Coach Williams, him having a circle that he trusted around him, that had been around him since before they entered him. And I think maybe some connect and the, even with the weight coach, like Coach Williams adores the weight coach of North Carolina. Like we would rather get into it than anyone else than the weight coach, right? Because that's a place where you need to be held accountable. So it's an interesting paradox that's going on in Michigan. It looks like he's kind of lost the kids, unfortunately. And Jeff is right, man. When you've got, first guy to ever make $100 million in the NBA, $100 million contract, it's a little easier, to kind of sit back and relax a little bit. And I think we're seeing that right now with the culture kind of going down in Michigan.
The one thing I do want to ask you guys is you talk about guys with $100 million in their bank accounts, and then you mentioned John Henson. Is that true, Henson? What do we think?
I wish. I'd probably be on a PJ to Bora right now for New Year's.
Yeah,
not going to my favorite Italian spot at 9:30.
Yeah, can I hitch a ride with you there, man? Come on, let's make this happen.
I'm about to say, look.
So let me. I think you guys are spot on about Juwan Howard and Henson. At some point, I'm going to have to get your breakdown of all of the weird verbiage that John Beilein likes to use, like Ricky rescreening and all of this kind of stuff. He's
Fox,
he was
Panda. This is the bear. This is the giraffe. We're like, Coach, we could all be gone tomorrow, and then you could have a whole new set of players. You better call it a down screen or a curl or an up screen or a double pick. Like, why are we calling it a polar bear, right? Literally, when we get guys that come for a trade, Dante Exum, funny story. He comes in the film. He comes from like Quinn Snyder. Quinn Snyder doesn't play. I mean, he's for real. Mm-hmm. So he comes in, and Coach Beilein is like, guys, we gotta do the polar bear to the fox, to the giraffe. And we look at him, and he's like, where did I just enter? What kind of portal did I just? So that was Beilein, you know what I'm saying? Love him to death, but he kind of brought a little too much college to the pros, and obviously it didn't work out as you guys. I was a part of that. Unfortunate shit show.
That's one way to put it. All right. Speaking of shit shows, we got to talk about Willie Wade, Goodman. Does he have a real chance of being able to get a job at a high major program any point soon?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, again, listen, you could say what you want about Will Wade, but the dude can coach and he can recruit. All right. And now recruiting's legal. So Will Wade is going to find a way to get players because he always could. The one thing I'll say, listen, I've known Will Wade since he was an assistant coach at Harvard, okay? And I remember him calling me, and he met me out in Framingham, Massachusetts at, I believe it was Bennigan's for lunch. Drove out from Harvard, 45 minutes to meet me. And that dude worked his ass off and still does. Like anybody, if you talk to anybody about Will Wade, they will say that first and foremost. He works his ass off, and he's a really good X's and O's coach, okay? And he gets his kids to play hard. So, yes, I think – now, again, we got to remember, Will Wade didn't coach the first 10 games of the season. People are acting like, he's 11-2 here. He's not. Now, he beat Michigan and Ann Arbor. That's a huge win. But, again, the assistant coaches, his staff, did a hell of a job while he was on that 10-game suspension. So that's first. But, yeah, Will Wade, listen, he'll get one. I don't know if it'll be a good one, high major, but he'll get to me, if DePaul opens, hell yeah, he should be at the top of that list. West Virginia, I know you mentioned. Yeah, he should be under consideration. I don't know if they would go that route, but possibly. The dude can coach, and he'll give DePaul the best chance to win since now the late and rest in peace to Joey Meyer did it when he went to 7 tournaments in 8 years, 30 years ago.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna get to the ACC here in a second. I do just think that I should mention FAU is down by 9 at the half right now. For the people out there that are into the live betting scene, John Henson.
Let's do it, Rob.
-3 on the live line. I've already fired twice, man. And I do just want to say, speaking of Will Wade and McNeese State, this is where we got to talk about Vaulted Goodman. Vaulted is an app that allows you to participate in daily cash prize pools without an entry fee. It is a place you can store your own predictions forever, and by using the Vaulted Challenge feature, you can prove you're smarter than your friends. Go download the Vaulted app, that's VLTED, to challenge your friends, store your predictions, and join daily cash prize pools without an entry fee. I'm saying McNeese State is dancing, Goodman. I'm saying that whether or not they win the Southland Conference tournament, assuming that they don't go 14-4 in their league, this team is dancing. I think they got a very, very real chance at getting an at-large bid. They've won at VCU, they've won at UAB, and they've won at Michigan. Is that crazy, Jeff?
It's bananas. It's absolutely crazy. Unless they win their league tournament, they will not be dancing. They won't even go to the NIT because the NCAA hates mid and low majors. So they don't want to put them in the NIT. They'd rather put the 10th place team from the ACC, which is basically a mid-major league right now anyway, in there.
All right. So now that you're taking shots at the ACC, let's get to that. It was weird in that league today. Pitt beat Syracuse. Syracuse beat Pitt, a Pitt team that we thought was going to be able to have a chance to be like a top 5 team in that league. Notre Dame, who was 5-7 entering today, won by 22 against a Virginia team that Goodman guaranteed would win the ACC this year. Lipscomb goes into Tallahassee and beats Florida State, and Wake Forest de-pantses Virginia Tech. They won 86-63.
This rolls.
What's going on in your conference, man?
I watched the Virginia game, and this is supposed to be our best quote-unquote team. When they got down 9-0 in typical Virginia fashion, there was no sense of urgency. And then it became 13-4, then 18-6. And credit to Notre Dame. They hit some tough shots, a couple buzzer beaters. Stuff went the right way for them. But Virginia had every opportunity in the second half to come back. They cut it down, I think, 10 points. And Notre Dame just took off again. Burton is really good, especially when he has no pressure on him. Today, he had no pressure on him. He was splitting double teams. He was shooting a 3 with up 15. They looked surprisingly good today. I mean, I think Virginia had in the first half, they had 14 points on Notre Dame, who's defense is one of the worst defenses with 10 minutes left. So I'm going to chalk this up as just a bad game. It was a noon game in South Bend. Maybe they didn't, weren't ready for it. They didn't get up for it. Who knows? But yeah, the lack of the sense of urgency being down 20 was just kind of alarming to me from a perspective of just a basketball fan. Virginia's down 15, 20 points and they're running their, normal offense, just running the shot clock down and getting an end of the, it was baffling to me, frustrating really, because Notre Dame was definitely going to let them come back into the game. And I'm starting to say, look, if you can hop on Virginia about 12 points, you got a guaranteed victory. That's how I feel about Virginia right now.
Listen, you look at their losses. They were pounded by Wisconsin down in Florida earlier this year. They were pounded at Memphis. And now they get pounded by a Notre Dame team that came in they were 250 in the net. Notre Dame was atrocious. Again, they just came off. I just saw Citadel. I love my guys from the Citadel. Love those guys. Rob does too. I'm going to go out with them here in Charleston after the new year. But ultimately, they lost to two SoCon teams in Citadel and Western Carolina. Micah Shrewsbury had to call them out publicly for their lack of effort. And they responded. Give them credit, right? They responded. But I think it says way more about Virginia. And this was their worst loss to an ACC opponent since 2017 when they lost by 24 to Carolina. And this is a team that prides itself on its defense, and they got absolutely blitzed today. So their talent level, we've talked about it throughout the year, is not nearly what it has been in the past. And part of the problem with this Virginia program now is Tony Bennett has generally had an opportunity to build a program and get older. And now it's really hard to do that, right? You've got a lot of guys that he brought in a few years ago as part of a heralded class with Reese Beekman that transferred out earlier. They didn't stick around. So I think that's part of the problem, whether it's NIL or, they want to go other places for bigger roles. They're not willing to wait like they were years ago in Charlottesville to develop. Whatever it is, life has changed in Charlottesville, and I just don't know if Tony Bennett's going to be able to change with it.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it too. It feels like I said in the preseason, I'll be very interested to see if Tony Bennett has lost his fastball. And I don't know if it's necessarily that as much as it is the way that he can run his program effectively and the way that he knows how to do it is just not something I think is going to work in 2024. Now, if you are going to tell me that he's going to find the guys that will be willing to redshirt, will be willing to play 2 minutes as freshmen, 4 minutes as sophomores, come out here as juniors and play 15 minutes and then end up being all ACC draft picks as seniors, then yeah, okay, I'm back in on Virginia. I just don't know if those guys exist. I don't know how many pleders are going to be willing to sit around and do nothing for
well, look at even Caden Shedrick. Rob, look at even Caden Shedrick, right? He didn't wait around another year because ultimately he wanted a bigger offensive role. So he went to Texas instead of sticking around for one more year. You never, ever would have thought that were possible from a Tony Bennett program before.
Yeah. Go ahead, John.
It's tough because you look at the pros, you got Malcolm Brogdon, who's actually one of my really good friends. I mean, we could say the Tony Bennett system kind of shielded him from how good he was. I mean, when I first got to play with him in practice, I was like, whoa, you could do all this, right? Even, DeAndre Hunter, who got paid with the Hawks, we didn't know what he was. We know what he could be. And I think he turned out to be a lot better maybe than we thought as well. So, kids are looking at the pros. Kids are looking at, if I'm playing a game in the 50s, how many points am I putting up? Am I putting up the right amount of stats? Because it's a very slim margin when you're playing in the 50s, right? Because now Virginia's kind of struggling. Reese Beekman's averaging 12 or 13 on a team that plays with a little more pace. Really a 17, 18 point a night guy. So now that looks really bad. So he's gonna have to figure it out. Try to, I think I know he's not going to change. He won the championship, but He's the pin down. He didn't have anybody that can get past anybody one-on-one. He doesn't have any kind of impactful rollers like a Shedrick kind of was that could put pressure on the rim. It's going to be tough sled for them coming down the stretch in the ACC. Then again,
well, that's the thing, John. They might be all right. Yeah, when he won the title, right? Like, what are they known for? They're known for running the blocker mover, which for people that are listening is basically like you have one guy that has the ball and you got another dude running off of a pin down on either side of him, right? And the guy that runs off the pin down and gets the ball, then you get set flare screen. It's basically like you have two screeners, two guys running off of picks, and one guy with the ball, and you just kind of like rotate through them all, right? And that's what he's famous for, which is like a very old school offense to run. When they won the title, they didn't really run all that much blocker mover. They were running like a ball screen continuity where they put the ball in Ty Jerome's hands and said, all right, Cook, go make a play. And I feel like they've kind of gone away from that. And part of the reason they've gone away from that is because they lost a guy that was an NBA player as a point guard that was a veteran, right? And I don't know if you're going to be able to get that.
And Kyle Guy.
Yeah, Kyle Guy. And they had DeAndre Hunter. And like Anthony Gill was on they had some really, really good players up and down. Braxton Key played in the NBA. He was the 5-man on that team. Or played some minutes at the 5. He was a 4-man. But I don't know if you're going to be able to stockpile the amount of NBA talent that he had on those teams that won the title and be able to play a style offensively that could allow you to win when you are going to be rotating through guys every 2 or 3 years. All right, real quick before we get out of here, I do just want to ask you guys big picture on the ACC. Last night we had Tyler Hansbrough and Terrence Oglesby kind of argue between North Carolina and Clemson winning. Who is the best team in that? Hey,
we also need to find out what John Henson thinks of sandwiches before we get done with this.
Oh yeah, Tyler told us. He said, "I think sandwiches suck." Where do you stand on sandwiches?
That's blasphemy.
That's I love T. Hands. It's my guy. We got the same financial guy. I mean, that's my guy. That's a statement of privilege right there. Sandwiches are trash. like when I was coming up, it was like, shut up, only in the fridge, right? And my parents brainwashed me to thinking that sandwiches were good. Like, I enjoy sandwiches, so like for him to say that, I mean, did you have your lunch packed every day? Hey, like, were you getting meals cooked? What was going on? Because I love sandwiches. They're easy. They're convenient. I mean, we'll have to chat about the sandwich debate one day.
I feel like maybe Tyler just went into the woods and caught his own dinner or something and never had to actually make a sandwich. I don't know. In Poplar Bluff, what is there in Poplar Bluff? We need to find out.
That's a good question. We should listen. Let me Google Poplar Bluff hunting. Maybe they have like a big hunting thing going out there. Sandwiches. Especially as an athlete, like sandwiches are like a staple of AAU days. I mean, what was he eating? So we've got the Mark Twain. What we got over here, man? Poplar Bluff Conservation Area. I don't see much.
No hunting.
Don't see much.
No hunting.
Don't see
We're gonna have to ask. We're gonna have to find out what.
Yeah.
How did we get here? That's what Rob's thinking right now. How the hell did we get here?
I clicked on the only link. It says knives for big and small game. That's the link that I found. So,
and that was owned by the Hansbrough family. There you go. That makes sense. All right.
Right. Okay. Where to hunt? Okay, got it. Yeah. No, I'm a big sandwich guy. Now that I'm older, probably shouldn't be as much of a sandwich guy, but that's just how. Like I said, my parents brainwashed me thinking it was a good thing.
You still weigh like $190. You can eat as many damn sandwiches as you want.
Hey, man, look, you need to eat a couple of PBJs now.
I just hit 240, fellas. Listen, man, if I lift open the shirt, I'm about 240 right now.
Nobody Henson wears 240 better than Henson. Nobody wears it better.
All right, maybe 235.
Henson, you want to hear something fucked up? You still weigh less than I do right now.
Listen, man.
I
take long walks in the park.
Wait. Before we move on to the ACC, Dauster, you've eaten plenty of sandwich in your life. We know that. All you got to do is look at your belly to see that. What's your favorite sandwich? If one go-to sandwich, what is it?
I've never told you this. I had a sandwich named after me in my hometown.
No.
Yeah, they did. There was a deli. I can't remember the name of it because it was one of those ones where like you just drive up and there's no sign, but it's just the deli, right? And it was right by Quinnipiac, and I would go in and they just called it the Rob Special. And you walk in there and it's a chicken cutlet where you get the cheddar cheese melted on top of it, right? Then you get a layer of mayo on the bottom of it, then the shredded lettuce on there. Then you get the tomatoes on there. Then you get the chicken cutlet that has the cheddar cheese melted on it. Then you get the bacon on top of that, right? Then you get the barbecue sauce sprayed on top of all that. And then here's the key. You got to get the hot, the spicy banana peppers, the ones that are like neon yellow. You got to get a layer of those spicy banana peppers right on top of there. And then you put the top of the sub on and boom, you wrap that up. You get yourself a nice little foot long. You get yourself one of the 32-inch peach Snapple iced teas, and you are good to go. That right there is the lunch of champions. If you want to be 6'3" and way more than John Henson, get that for lunch every single day, and you're good to go. You're locked in. That's my favorite.
Also, side note in the sandwiches. Apparently, turkey hunting is pretty popular there. Maybe you should ask him about in Poplar Bluff next time you talk to Tyler.
What's your sandwich go to, Henson?
I'm a man. Listen, man, I go ham and cheese, lettuce, tomato, cucumbers, put some Dijon mustard on, and heavy cheese, heavy ham, and I call it a day. I'm a simple guy.
I go Italian. Everything on it except onions. My wife swore me out from eating onions years ago, so I can't do that. extra hots, oil and mayonnaise, everything else on it. Yeah, D'Angelo's is a spot around me.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
So
ACC.
Now that we finished the sandwich conversation, I have no idea where to go from here. But Henson, who's winning the ACC this year? North Carolina, Duke, Clemson. Who you got?
I'm even more emboldened in my North Carolina stance now that I've seen what the rest of the league is kind of shaping up to be. I mean, North Carolina's beat a top 10 team. I mean, call it what you want. Oklahoma's undefeated. They kind of ran through some decent teams. Obviously, we got Clemson right there with them. And we're going to find out within the next 10 days. So everybody just relax. We're going to find out within the next 10 days what it's going to shape out to be. We're going to find out pretty quickly. Clemson's got Miami. North Carolina's got some games coming up as well. I think by the time we talk next time, it'll be a clearer picture of what the ACC is going to be down the road.
Goodman, go ahead.
Yeah, I can't wait. I think I'm going to go to the game in a couple of weeks, North Carolina, Clemson. And that could be a battle for, honestly, who ends up winning the league. I like this Clemson team a lot. I think P.J. Hall's as good a player as there is in the league. Joe Girard's been an incredible addition. And if Chase Hunter really gets going, I think then you're going to see Clemson, be a team that can sustain this. But I'm kind of with Henson here. I think Carolina's got too much overall. And, they're a team that's older. They're starting to gel. They gelled quickly for a team with a bunch of newcomers like they did. And R.J. Davis has played like an All-American, and Baycott's going to get better. Listen, this isn't going to be the Mondo that we see all year. He's going to – you watch. He'll peak at the right time.
The way that I know that you didn't watch the show last night, Goodman, is that Hansborough and Oglesby made a bet that whoever loses that game has got to take a ping pong ball to the back.
To the back. You got to take it to the stomach, not the back.
Is that what it is?
To the stomach. Yeah.
I'm
gonna make the argument that Duke is gonna be the team that ends up finding a way to win this, and the reason I say that is they just got Tyrese Proctor back today, and in Tyrese Proctor's absence, Jared McCain figured it out. In the last 4 games, he is averaging 19.3 points per game. He's making his threes. He's getting to the bucket. He has found the scoring touch. He has found the confidence, and I don't expect that to go away just because Tyrese Proctor's back in the lineup. And my biggest question now, and Henson might be the best one to answer this question, is just kind of like, how do you deal with this as a coach, man? Like you're John Shire. And you got Tyrese Proctor, who was projected to be a lottery pick coming into the season. You got Jeremy Roach, who is your senior, your captain, your leader, a guy that's putting up, frankly, All-American kind of numbers this year. And now your freshman is playing the best basketball that he's played all season long, averaging 19 points over the last 4 games. How do you manage egos? How do you manage rotations? How do you manage all of this now that you have your projected lottery pick coming back?
Well, you say, hey, Tyrese, we're going to bring you back slow. We're going to make sure you're healthy, play you some minutes and get you back right. And you see, and that gives you a couple more games. And if this thing keeps going on, you say, hey, look, man, we're rolling right now. He's probably going to come off the bench for the first couple of ACC games. I don't think that freshman duo will just step up to the point where he's going to be sitting down for a while. But you got to think of it like this. If Shire has to say, hey, Tyrese, come off the bench, that means Duke is rolling, right? So what's he going to say? So I think Shire is going to, do the old NBA trick. Hey, look, man, just, you're on, injury, just coming back. Take your time. We'll work you in. And as soon as stuff gets real, throw him back in the starting lineup and go from there.
Goodman?
Yeah, I mean, I hope he's going to make him earn it. And he did a little bit today. Proctor wasn't great, but he didn't play a ton, and it was a complete blowout. And McCain was great again. I just wouldn't want to screw up the mojo that they have going on there right now. That's my biggest concern. Like Henson says, kind of ease him back in, right? Like ease him back in. The beauty right now is that you're not as reliant as you were 3 weeks ago on Tyrese Proctor, because Jared McCain can go for 20. And you needed that from Proctor 3 weeks ago. So now McCain can do that. Proctor can be more of what we saw of him. He can be passive Tyrese Proctor a little bit. And it's okay if Filipowski and McCain are both pumping in, combined 35 a night.
Yeah. I mean, and also too, Proctor is more ball dominant. The ball pops a little more without him out there because there's not a ball. Proctor needs a ball in his hand to be effective. He's not a guy that's just going to sit out there and spot up. And those two freshman guards are snipers essentially. So it's a whole different feel of their offense when he's not out there.
Yep.
All right, let's get into toast of the night and let's get out of here so we can go start our New Year's Eve celebrations a night early. Goodman, I'm going to you first on this one. Toast of the night, who you got?
Well, my first toast of the night is happy 60th to one Chris Mack, Field of 68. It's unbelievable how he looks for being 60. I mean, I know he lost his hair a long time ago, but, man, that dude looks really good for being 60. I guess
I'll cheers to you there, right? Mac. Happy 60th birthday. You look great for a 60-year-old.
I mean, we got to drink to that. No, I'm gonna. My toast is to Sean Jones of Marquette, because again, he's such a killer on the defensive end and a bulldog, and that's what we kind of know of him. And I love when a dude is dared to shoot the ball like that, and he shows them like, okay, you know what, I'm gonna do it. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to let it fly and let the chips fall where they may. And he made 3 big ones tonight. So Sean Jones, huge shots tonight. Keep taking them, man.
Yeah, in the words of Jay Wright, shoot him up, sleep in the streets. Henson, who you got?
I'm going to go the sneaky Demon Deacons. They've put together a decent little resume before they go into league play. They smoked Virginia Tech. They're the only team in the country with 4 guys averaging over 15 points, that makes them impossible to guard. I mean, 4 guys can score over 15 a night. So toast to them, looking like the Wake Forest of old, potentially coming into the ACC season.
Hey, speaking of the old Wake Forest of old, John Henson, was there a feared player that you did not want to get into a fight with in the NBA than James Johnson? Anybody?
Yeah, not James Johnson wasn't a guy. James Johnson probably was the guy. I mean, he's undefeated in all his bouts, and he's a basketball player. So, What if he focused on fighting? That'd be scary.
Yeah. Who was the guy? Give me the guy before Dauster goes. Give me the guy that you did not want to mess with. That like at all you wanted no part of, because again, he would have kicked your ass.
It wouldn't even. I wouldn't say. I mean, we could go maybe I wouldn't be able to be stuck in a 5x5 room with Steven Adams. That was probably not a good thing to be. But yeah, off the top of my head, yeah, maybe Steven Adams. But I was more so worried about the guys that we're like loose cannons, right? Like they might swing on you, or you might have to swing back, and then now you get suspended a game. We had a kind of a saying in the NBA. It was 70.
Like who? Who was a guy like that? You didn't know what to expect. Like you just
old school NBA. Like I had Joe Prisbillo on my team. He was a guy that you didn't want to mess with. Larry Sanders, who I played with. These are all teammates, by the way, but teammates get into it. Draymond Green obviously is a guy that'll take it there. Even like a guy like Embiid, man, he's not much of a fighter, but I don't think you want to take a punch from him. I don't think that's probably not going to be good for you. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a rule that it's not just NBA players. There's a rule that I think everybody should have in life. You never fight crazy, right? If that person is crazy, you don't want to fight them. You don't want to go there with them. So that's a rule that I have in life. Learned that one the hard way. My toast of the night is going to go out to Jackson Shellstead, who had 20 points and 3 assists as Oregon picked up their 10th win of the season, beating UCLA at home. They are now 2-0 in the Pac-12. They've dealt with some injuries this year, and Fale Dante's out, but they put themselves in a position where it's not infeasible for them to be able to make a run to the NCAA tournament at some point this year. Jackson Shellstead, we haven't talked about him at all on the show, but he is a freshman from West Linn, same hometown as Peyton Pritchard, averaging 14 points and 3 assists this year for the Ducks, having a really good season, and is part of the reason why they are in a position to be able to make a run here to the NCAA tournament. But listen, this has been a fun show. This is our last live show of there you go. Smack, only turned 60 months. This is our last live show of the 2023 calendar year. We have a show coming tomorrow at 8 p.m. Our New Year's resolution show. I believe that is Goodman. Is that Goodman, Henson, and Fanta? Yeah. And they will be
got some good resolutions.
Yeah, that will be streaming out tomorrow at, I believe, 6 p.m. Eastern time. So make sure you tune into that. I hope everybody has a happy and healthy new year. And I hope you all ride with me as we pull for this FAU live money line to find a way to hit, because it would be very nice for the old BetMGM account if it actually does. See you guys in 2024.